This is the Business Chat Podcast. And welcome back to the Business Chat. I'm here with a guest I've been pursuing quite a bit. He's a busy guy. He's on the road a lot. This is Anthony Halsch of ROXBOX. And he's not in the great state of Colorado where they're based today, are you, Anthony?
No, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona at the moment.
This guy's on the road. He's doing cool things. We're going to talk about what's going on, what the company's about, the innovative aspect of ROXBOX, as you're my guest here today, brother, on the Innovators series. Anthony, again, is founder. He's CEO. You guys can check out roxboxcontainers.com. If you're watching this online, you're at a computer, not driving a vehicle. They are an innovator of custom shipping container structures, man, and they're very cool. There's a lot of shipping container things moving around out there, but we found that these guys are doing something we believe truly unique. Hear more about the story. They're offering a productized menu. They've got also fully custom and then DIY-like shells that they configure, and a lot of other things too, Anthony, as I was poking around on the site that I will talk about as we get into this chat that I think are less than obvious that you guys are doing. There's some neat things ROXBOX is up to. So here we are, man. Well, let's raise a glass. What are you drinking today?
I am drinking some Stranahan's whiskey. Was able to find at a liquor store around here, so bringing it from Colorado, and got a little old-fashioned here going.
Yes. All right, great. And I've got myself a little Sheboygan Brewing Company here in Northern Michigan, Lighthouse Amber. So without any further delay on this chat, man, cheers to you.
Cheers, brother.
All right. Here's to ROXBOX. All right, man. Well, cool. Before we go too much deeper into that, did I say that right? You know, I try to tee you guys up as guests. We're not golf buddies. We don't go way back. I don't know a ton about you, a ton about the company. So that's what's kind of fun is on the surface, I get to be a little bit of your guinea pig and go, hey, man, I'm looking at this and I see a productized, again, menu, right? Things you guys have your models. Then you kind of have this fully custom aspect and then more of these DIY. But yeah, maybe summarize that in your own words. Is that kind of how you would want that to be perceived? What does ROXBOX deliver in a sentence or so?
Sure. Yeah, most definitely. So, you nailed it pretty much. We've got a lot of different products that are standard builds that we are able to do fairly quickly. They're not off the shelf. You know, we build everything to order, but if they're repetitive type products that we've done a lot of, then it obviously speeds up a lot of things for us. And then we do a lot of custom stuff for bigger brands and things like that. We've got some really, really cool stuff on the road right now. Some stuff it's going to the Super Bowl. Been all over Colorado, all over the nation.
Oh, come on now.
For some,
nice.
Yeah, for some awesome stuff. So, you know, and that's great. And then we also do, like you said, shells, more the DIY stuff. So, you know, there's a lot of people that enjoy getting their hands dirty, and shipping containers allow for a certain level of finishing with those shells that we provide. So we'll do all the engineering and structural that needs to go into it, so that you're good with your local permitting and stuff like that, and then deliver the boxes, and then you can have your general contractor, your dad, whoever knows how to swing a hammer and run some wire. They can come help you finish it and things like that, and have a lot of pride in that structure that you're building. So a lot of different things we can build for you, and ultimately you just call us and kind of see what the best path is. And in that regard, we also help and advise on that path. There's
really
people don't understand about construction is just there's a lot of places in this country where you don't need permits and things like that to build, but more of the case is that you need permitting and you need to engage your local building department, and we're a certified modular manufacturer in multiple states across the country, and so with that being the case, we're able to advise on the best build pathway for you and what you're trying to accomplish. So, you might call us with an idea that you want a big restaurant or something like that. And we're able to, kind of explain the pros and cons of that. And then maybe lead you down a different path where it's either, a smaller type of thing with a smaller footprint or a different layout type of thing that might get the job done faster, cheaper, etc.
Man, that's really neat. I didn't realize it was kind of a consulting angle, and it really comes as no surprise because you guys are experts in this field. And have seen a lot of the work you've done. The folks that we connected with on your team are very diverse in their background and experience in construction and in business and the mechanics of how this stuff, again, it's not as simple, right, as taking it off the shelf. It's what do you want it to do? Where do you live? What's the zoning like? That's incredible. Well, let's keep talking about that as soon as you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, man. That's kind of fun for me, too, because I don't really know Anthony Halsch. So, and I don't know most of the guests. But for folks listening, they're thinking, okay, this is neat. They're checking out the site. They see this handsome guy with a beard and an old fashioned. They're going, well, what's your story? What'd you do? Did you swing a hammer? Did you go to technicals college? Were you in the military? Like, what's your background, man? Tell us how you led up to ROXBOX.
Sure. I mean, I got to trace the roots all the way back to, I grew up on a farm in Iowa. All right. So,
Right.
yeah,
Now we're
swinging
talking.
hammers, pushing cattle, all sorts of things, getting rough and tough. So growing up with that background and stuff, obviously my father and my grandfather taught me how to work. And, that comes, it's kind of a rare thing right now of just, putting your head down and grinding. So I think that kind of gave me the foundation, I guess, to continue pushing and ultimately becoming an entrepreneur. But I was in college. I was looking for some extra money to just go have more fun than I was having, and this container business kind of piqued my interest. I had a couple of buddies that were working in the shipping industry. Right, they were moving containers around with the big forklifts and stuff like that. And so when I was having a beer with them one night, we were just talking about some stuff, and this container stuff got brought up that people were buying them, and we had these guys dropping them off with flatbed trailers and stuff, and I was like, well, shit, I can do that. I drove a truck and trailer my whole life, so I started looking into it more and realized that the industry itself was just very archaic, and the customer service was not there. It was completely lacking in that. You call a container company to buy an empty shipping container and no one would call you back, or you get a rough email saying the price and that you got to have it picked up by this day, and this, that, and the other thing. And I was just like, wow, this is just really not personal at all. And there's no sales behind this. And so I back up a little bit. When I was before the container stuff, I worked for Harley Davidson for 3 years, selling motorcycles.
There it is. Okay.
So, I had that sales background a little bit. So I was like, well, there's a huge opportunity. And I was like, I could do it all online. I'm just brokering it. So, I got into the container business, bought 2 shipping containers. Some lady was texting and hit me on my motorcycle. I was okay, but I got like a $7,500 check from the insurance company, and I bought 2 shipping containers. I don't know what 21-year-old kid would take that money and buy 2 metal boxes with it, but that's me.
You're either crazy or onto something there. Yeah,
right.
totally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So bought those, put them on Craigslist of all places, and got a bunch of calls, and then started shipping boxes out. And like the fact that I was calling people back, offering prices, offering pictures, offering to take them to the yard and show them which container could be theirs. It was just a whole nother level that the industry was not, it wasn't a thing, that you didn't do that. And so, I was offering that white glove service essentially that I really didn't even know I was offering. It was just my natural way to sell things. And so we did very well. I think in the first like 6-7 months of that business, we sold almost $500,000 of shipping containers. And, you're looking at 2,500 to maybe $4,000 or $5,000 containers. So, there was quite a few going out. They obviously had a nice price tag on them. So that number, it adds up over a while, but still, a couple hundred containers type of thing. So, and then I called my professor. I was going to engineering school. So that's the next step of this story is, I was at Colorado School of Mines and, being trained to be an engineer, and it's one of the best engineering schools in the country. And, I called my professor. He helped me start the business actually in that previous spring of 2015. And I told him how successful things were going, and that I was so busy now, there's no way I could do engineering school of all things, and run a business. So I was like, and he's like, well, leave. If it's working, leave. You can always come back. And my parents hate him for that, but it was the right decision after all. And so, and he's been kind of a mentor for me throughout the years, and a guide, but that's what really got me into the game of the container business. And we ran empty shipping containers all over the country. Had an operation in Houston, Texas, which we're actually opening a new facility down there now with ROXBOX. So this was a previous company. This was not ROXBOX that I was starting the shipping containers in. But once we got to that point where, we were big enough, we had a big enough name, and I was actually the first website that I know of to use e-commerce to sell empty shipping containers in the country. Just a stupid, simple GoDaddy website. And we only sold one through e-commerce because it's really hard to do that. That you got to see the box. There's a lot of nuance to it.
I was going to say, fulfillment must not have been super simple. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. People want to see it, want to touch it, stuff. So it didn't really work. But at the same time, we were one of the first ones to do it. So that was kind of cool. But anyway, so once we got into the construction, people started calling us for windows and doors and, asking questions about making things out of them. And just from my background and stuff like that, I was able to provide some guidance on that. But when it got to the point where people were like, wow, why don't you guys do this? Can you do this for me? And it's like, maybe. So I literally just hired a mobile welder to come out to our dirt lot and start cutting holes into a container. And we made our first product in July of 2017 called the beer can. And that today is our most famous, best-selling product, which is hilarious considering that was the first thing we ever did. So we hacked a bunch of holes in the box, made some awnings with, gas pistons and stuff, and they popped open, and, had a walk-in cooler in the back, and, that product was awesome. It's still active today in Denver at Mission Ballroom. It's a great venue. It's a music venue, and, it's still cranking beer out today from 2017, and very rudimentary. We've come a long ways. So that's kind of the background. We got into it then, and then bigger and bigger brands. The one that really kicked us off was Adidas Golf. We got a contract with them. Wow. We were still in a dirt lot, in a shop that I had built out of some containers. And then Winter Park Resorts, we built a big kitchen for them. And so it just kind of, kept rolling with some of these bigger and bigger names. We got some more clout.
Yeah, bigger really clients, more customs. Exactly. That's great, man. No, you kind of, thank you for that, Anthony. You cruised me through your professional career story into kind of what ROXBOX does, and it's a great segue to my next question, and that's kind of like, so again, you're the Harley-Davidson salesman. You don't even know you're giving white glove service, as you're seeing, and everyone listening that's around just general, even construction, right, whether maintenance or it's spec building, they're used to these probably well-meaning, but, kind of busy guys. Like you said, 2-word email comes 2 days late. It's from their phone, it's typos, and it's just one of those things where you've got operators and not salespeople. You understood brand from Harley-Davidson instinctively, right? You came from a place that would call a line of their bikes and their accessories and everything. The service had a brand name to it. So that's totally evident when our team over here is looking at your site. So here you are, you're starting to get bigger and bigger clients, and your product line sounds like it's still kind of in that rudimentary first few years basic phase. What was really like because at first you're going, hey, this is just, I love the non-glamorous story about you just kind of jumping into it as the guy with the forklift going like, hey, this is, I could do this. But now that you're in it, talk to me about when you started seeing the niche, the niche or niche that wasn't there, aside from just the service, but the other kind of custom pieces. What were you really at one point, and when was this? Were you aiming to fill something that you really noticed, hey, this is something no one's really doing? In other words, what would you call the most innovative, piece of this that you guys do to this day?
Well, it certainly evolves, right? I mean, it's
if there's one thing, that's a big question.
Right,
I know.
Exactly. It's a huge
just
question.
talking about the first thing. Talk about the first thing that really made you go, hey, I've really got an opportunity here because no one seems to be doing X. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's always somewhere in somebody's story.
Certainly. And I think really what it is that is the sales end of it, right? Is that
it really was, wasn't it?
Sales and education, right? Because even today, right, there's a lot of, not a lot. There's a few players in our market that are honestly not up to board, in my opinion, of morality of what the education piece really is around shipping containers, right? There's a lot of misinformation, I would say, around how easy it is to permit it, the costs of building and things like that, right? And so that was been a little bit of a combat to basically, re-educate. And I would say that's one of the best things ROXBOX does is we out-educate our competitors, right? So we out-educate our competitors' clients, right? So gotcha. we give them more information. We give them more information than maybe they need, but enough to make a very sound decision. And I think that's where we're transparent, I guess, in that. And what I'm getting to is just that creating the niche is that there were people doing this before us. There was a couple other companies that I would say were kind of like the OG container modification companies, right? And those companies, there's one that's very successful today and one that's no longer in business, and we took some pages out of those books on both of them of the successes and the failures. And we really kind of developed a niche in our industry where we're a full service manufacturer of this product. So we're designers and we're builders, and we deliver, and we can implement, let's say a tour or like white glove service at the very end. So
really,
for instance, we built a box for Coca-Cola that is amazing, right? It's a mobile boom box. It's 100% off grid. It runs off solar power, and this thing blasts. You can't hear each other. If you're standing within 10 feet, you can't have a yelling, screaming conversation. It's so loud. Sure. It's got a rooftop deck, fold out decks. It's freaking amazing. Right. And they have another company doing their, what we call stage 5, which is taking the product that we've built and putting it on tour. So, doing graphics and vinyls and setting up the units, all those other things is being done by another company. And that was one of the things we saw. I was like, well, we're doing all these things. We're the experts of this unit. We know how to set it up and tear it down better than anybody else. And so we're actually looking at adding this stage 5 component to our process that takes it from after it's built. So stage 4 is delivery, and then stage 5 is the tour implementation, right? So it's taking it around the country, showing it off for brands, and it's more of a marketing drive or more of a marketing play than anything. But that's really what I say is a big differentiator for us is how much we educate our clients on the best build pathway and the best way to do their tour or their delivery or whatever else. There's some companies that it's FOB, freight on board, our factory gate, and we don't touch it. We don't call the crane company. We don't touch the transportation. You either pick it up from us or you get charged storage fees. That's basically how some other companies work, right? And we're like, no, well, we get and yes, there's more liability. Yes, our insurance is higher, but at the same time, they know that we care and we want it to get to the end location and be servicing the end client like our client wants. And so we know their story. We know what they're going after. We know what their goal is. And then we take it upon ourselves to deliver that with them.
Man, that's tremendous. So you really do have the soup to nuts, the whole process for someone. They can go from calling you, your team, kind of lay out an idea, go back and forth with some, I don't know how this all goes, but let's just say they're intelligent enough to send over, CAD modeling, some plans. A lot of folks, I'm sure you see it all, right? Folks go, they have a crayon drawing on a cocktail napkin. Some people have dimensions and they got the angle of the sun they want, but either way, either person can come to you along their journey. And even you're saying go as far as have you guys actually deliver on-site install. Did I hear that right? And kind of do some of the modification there. That's wow.
Yeah, and
I would say
the point of finishing out the whole project, right? We have general contractors and subcontractors all over the country that they take it from us and they finish it out. So some of those shells that I was describing earlier, it makes sense from a build pathway. Again, you go all the way back. There's all these nuance to which pathway you want to take. Yeah. But let's say we go to the shells, we deliver a bunch of shells to a certain location because of whatever reason. And then we hire a general contractor to come finish it out for you to the turnkey package like ROXBOX is planning to deliver. And that's really, I think turnkey is probably the better niche that we're in, or better term for the niche that we're in, is that we offer from soup to nuts and then it's turnkey at the end of the project.
And on a B2B scale, that's nice. That's music to corporate's ears, right? They don't want to chase every sub. You guys act a little bit, and you know this better than I do. You act a bit like the GC for them, knowing they can trust you guys with at least handing them off to where it needs to go. Man, so I see that stuff I didn't know from the surface, and cool as folks are learning about you. So a few people might be listening to, man, I got to point this out. It was written in my notes, and it's still, I think it's still a good point to point out, including myself. Some people kind of have their arms folded. They're skeptical. They're like, well, hold on a minute. What's the core innovation? Really, what's the resourcefulness anyway in this whole shipping container industry? I remember seeing this moving from Southern California to Austin, Texas, in different hip areas, right? I remember seeing these things pop up in Denver, kind of everywhere, right? Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
And at the peak of the 2000, I think, 8, 9, 10, 11, kind of the shipping container bars was trendy. And I started looking around going, well, this really is a thing. But I remember with myself going, well, what's the core? And the misinformation probably was hitting me on YouTube. A lot of guys going, these are not efficient and they're just these metal boxes. They need all this work. You're the expert. You tell us what's really at the end of the day. Why not just have a stick build? Why not somebody go build their own, mini bar or whatever? So yeah, in your words, man. Yeah, what's totally. the deal here?
Well, it's kind of like, no good story ever started with eating a salad. It's kind of that thing. Is like with what we do is that, if you want a cool story, you build a cool building, and what we build is really cool. So, if you want cheap and not cool and unaesthetically pleasing and basic, then yeah, do what everybody else does, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be safe and you're good. Whereas,
so I'm going to interrupt you a little here along the way. Forgive me, because right there, it's a really good point. So already you're admitting, and that's great. I love this because it's just the honest truth. Sometimes is freeing for people on these. They go, okay, so here's a pro like Anthony admitting one of the first pieces of this is aesthetic. It's because it's a shipping container, so it's already different, and you're in. Okay, all right, got it. All right, good point. Keep going.
It's already cool right away. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. People know it. People know that. Oh, use the shipping container. That's cool. You don't ever see someone like, oh, it's a container. Oh my, I'm not going in there. Like that doesn't happen. People are very interested in it. It's intriguing. My favorite word for containers is visceral, right? It's like, it's there. You can touch it, feel it's hard steel, and for me, I think they're better buildings in general because we can make them very tight. And what I mean by that is we use spray foam. And when these things are fully welded, spray foamed and caulked, it's one of the most tight buildings that you can build in the world. It's a metal skin with a 2 or 3 or 4 inch vapor barrier from the spray foam all the way around inside of it. And so from an efficiency standpoint, they're amazing. If you do everything right from that insulation and sealing perspective, they're fantastic with efficiency. So not only are you lowering your carbon footprint by reducing your HVAC and heating bills, but you just used a recycled shipping container to build your whole house. So instead of that shipping container sitting in a yard rusting away and piling up and creating nuisance for somebody else, you've upcycled it, is what we use the term. Upcycled it into something that's a new thing that you can live in, and it's sustainable. So there's a lot of benefits to this, but ultimately, it's a cool metal structure that's going to outlast any wood structure out there. That's just a fact. Metal's much stronger than steel, or metal's much stronger than wood.
Yeah, and wood, sure.
Lots of different things. Natural disasters, right? We're seeing all these increases in natural disasters, and I can't say that these are fireproof. I can say that they're fire resistant. We had 2 container cabins go through a wildfire in Colorado, and one of them they both would have survived, but one of them had a 5-gallon gas tank inside of it, and that blew up. Now the container was still intact. It blew out all the windows and burned the whole inside of the ground, but the container was still sitting there. And the other box that had an explosion right next to it and went through a fire was fine. The windows broke out, but you could replace the windows. The whole interior was okay. So we see things like that, and that's one thing that we're pushing a little bit, is that these are more fire resistant than other types of homes. The other thing is hurricanes. A brick getting slung at 120 miles an hour will go through wood and drywall very quickly, but a steel wall is going to catch that a lot differently than wood and siding and vinyl. So you're inherently building a stronger structure out of this and upcycling at the same time, and it's going to be more efficient. Now, it's probably not going to be cheaper. Now, there are ways to build this very cost effectively, but when you're getting down to it, you're getting a better building, and it's going to be faster to build as well. So because we're a modular manufacturer, while you're setting up the foundation, doing all the utilities and the groundwork, and then obviously pouring the foundation with everything, we're building your building in the factory. Right. So then as soon as this foundation is done, we can have modules start flying in and getting set with cranes, instead of, okay, the foundation's done, now bring in the framing crew, now bring in the electrical crew, and now
it's like Legos, man. You're just putting it together. Yeah,
exactly. Right. Slam it on site, do the roof work, finish it out, and I mean, we can have. We're doing a very large project in the Northwest that, it's 25 plus containers. And we have about a month. We have about 5 to 6 weeks to build that whole thing on site once those modules get there. And I mean, that's a lot of crane work, a lot of welding, a lot of shimming, more structural work. And so 6 weeks to do 25 containers is ridiculous. But the whole time right now they're building the foundation. Right now we're building the boxes. So we're able to get this from. I mean, honestly, this will be finished, and we're talking about. I mean, what is it? It's about 15,000 square feet, I think. I'm got to check my math on that. But right, 15,000 square foot building, a commercial 15,000 square foot building, we're going to have built in around 9 months from when they called us.
Wow.
So, have someone else do that. I'd like to see it. It's one of the biggest things.
You've got the attitude of a contractor too, man. I like it. Like a guy that's like, come on, let's go. The competition runs through your veins, and that makes it fun, man. Well, you're talking about stuff too that hits so many points, so we couldn't, cover everything in this conversation. But while we're on kind of the topic of why, and thank you, by the way, that was a great response. That it's cool factor. You're upcycling. I got to use that this week. I really like that. I'm just going to pop it in there somewhere indiscriminately, and then you're right, and it's upcycling, and it is inherently a stronger, sturdier structure. But you heard it from Anthony, everybody. If you're just hell bent on the most, not just cheap, but it's a cost exercise, just go for it. Do what it is you need to do to build. But if you're looking for something that's stronger, you're interested in finding something that, again, is in that upcycling kind of, like you said, using something otherwise would sit there and rust, and it's just being resourceful with what's on our planet, and you're looking for sturdiness, then, you definitely want to consider shipping containers and talk to Anthony here at ROXBOX. So as we're kind of like cycling down on all this kind of lead up to what we want to understand, the innovation piece, I'm looking at the site. I'm seeing residential. I'm seeing Helios solar. without me speaking for you and what these things are, I think some are pretty self-explanatory. Talk to me about now today. It's 2022, right? We're in the fourth quarter. You're traveling. I'm catching you on a trip. You're moving all over. Things are really scaling and going well for you guys. What's a use case that people kind of go, what? And that wows them. That's, again, either not apparent on the website or they kind of go, yeah, shipping containers, we get it. And you, no, check this out. What do you guys feel like you're doing right now that's really setting you guys apart in addition to the amazing brand and customer service from your product offering?
Certainly, yeah. There's some really fun ones we've done and some ones that are coming up that are going to be great. But the Helios product is one I do want to touch on a little bit more. That product is extremely innovative. We got very lucky to partner with an amazing company out of Australia called Black Stump Technologies.
Okay.
They're a bunch of really, really smart Aussies that came up with this container that essentially, harnesses the power of the sun and is able to create refrigeration and freezing with no other assistance from generators or on-grid power at all. This unit can be dropped off in the middle of nowhere, and you have a 20-foot container that is able to open up and just has wings that float out off the side, and it starts grabbing that sun. And this thing can be turned on 15 minutes from deployment on the ground, and then automatically you can have this thing down to 33, 42, whatever set point that you need in about an hour. And that one is absolutely amazing for any sort of environmental work where you're out in the middle of nowhere mining, oil field, natural disasters, potentially refugee camps, anywhere where it's remote and you don't have refrigeration, you don't have any power. And not only that, there has been some stuff where we've added plugs and things to the outside. So if it is like in a community area in third world countries, things like that, people can charge cell phones or charge potentially batteries, whatever they're looking to get powered. They can come to this area in the center that has cold storage or vaccines or medicines that is keeping cold, and they can charge stuff for their homes. So that one's definitely very, very cool.
We got a humanitarian here, guys. So the business side of me is going, you can help these poor people at Coachella by keeping all that Michelob Ultra cold, right? I mean, talk about suffering. And
definitely.
No, but I appreciate you kind of diving in where that's not where my head went immediately, but my goodness, man, I think the use cases are endless. So as a dummy about these things, firstly, is so you're saying the battery or the unit that's being charged is also included kind of in this Helios solar product. You got the panels, right? And you got the ability for it to store and keep storing power. Interesting. That's really cool, man.
The unit that we have can run without sun, which if we don't have, we have a whole lot of other problems if the sun doesn't come out. But let's just say that, it doesn't come out or whatever. This thing can actually stay cold if you don't open it for up to 4 days. So one of the technology pieces in there is that it modulates how much power that it has left and how much incoming sun that it has based on its cyclical circadian rhythm, essentially, right? So if it knows that it's not getting enough sun, it'll start to modulate the power down, and then essentially, the temperature will rise slightly, but if you have it set at 34 degrees, it won't go above 50. And so you can still save some of that produce, medicine, whatever you have stored in there, or your Michelob Ultra, it won't skunk out on you after 4 days of no sun. So yeah, it's a great product. There's a lot of other things that we can do with Helios, but that one certainly is poised to take off and blow up here, hopefully in the next couple of years.
Man, we have no issue spreading the word here. I mean, this is just cool stuff. You've got MIT level kind of engineering and innovation, and it's stacked upon what you're doing. And that's very cool of you guys for you to mention the partnership. I think a lot of people label what they're doing, and I think there's no right way to do that, right? To mention partners and layers to your business or not. But in your case, I find that always kind of cool to go, yeah, hey, this is us, but this is honestly another group kind of brought this piece along with you. So that's very cool, man.
And just to put them in again, they're in Australia, but we're the exclusive manufacturer and sale and distribution of Black Stump Technologies in the United States and in North America. So we're essentially their extension from Australia to sell in the United States and Canada and Mexico. And South America is coming along too, but there's not a huge market right now that we've been able to tap into. So anyway. But yeah, they're great partners. They're fantastic people, and we're looking to see if we can push a lot more of these out here in 22 and 23.
Man, that's tremendous. Very cool, and again, neat kind of narrative on the A minute left. Just touch really quickly. How's the residential side of ROXBOX's business right now? Because the ADU thing that race fired off a few years ago, right? We're seeing companies like Boxable scaling. The minute they announced, hey, we've got this impacted list of folks that have purchased and they're waiting and they're moving at the speed of reality. Are you guys in that race? Talk to me about where you are on the ADU side and on kind of the residential, as you put it. And just correct me if I'm not even saying that right. Yeah, what's your residential product? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, we do have, so our ADU is our main product for residential right now. We've been very hesitant to launch it, solely focused on commercial for many years, mostly due to the factors that you described before, right? Form factor, functionality, cost, and aesthetics, right? B2B and the turnkey. B2B love that, right? They know what they're getting. They know that it's going to be cool. They know it's going to function. And that's why we've been pretty much focused on that to build the business. Now there's a need. There's a housing need. We can build stuff. We do great things. And so it's time. It's time to launch the residential unit. This came out 2 months ago, and we have not pushed it super hard. One thing we did get, we were on the cover of Colorado Builder magazine for our ADUs that actually came out last week. So that was pretty cool to see. That was one of our first interviews around the residential. They actually got the scoop, if you will, on that launch. So cool. It's very, very young in its exposure, but I think there's a lot of legs for it. There's a lot of that necessity for homes. And if you want to check out boxandboulder.com, that's another one of our partners that it's an architect and realtor team, and they're fantastic guys as well. And Josh Abbey was the one that did all the designs for that. And so those are the ones we will be pushing. It's a little sneak peek here, if you see this, that we can build those houses, and we plan to. I'm planning to build one in Houston next year. So, but yeah, the ADU is our first launch of residential, but there's some more stuff coming, and it's definitely going to take off here in the next couple of years.
Man, I have no doubt that it's going to, like the rest of your products and offerings. Again, man, thank you for the time, by the way. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to pause at your hotel and from this thing to that. Ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Halsch of ROXBOX. We're going to link all of his information, the website. You can go to roxboxcontainers.com. Check him out on LinkedIn. Reach out to his team. Man, we're all just going to be excited to watch what you guys have going on, and excited to have you back on the show at some point soon, man. All the best to you.
Awesome. Thanks a ton, Drew. It was great.
Yeah, man. A final closing cheers to you, Anthony. Take care.
Cheers.
See ya.